Back for our featured app segment, and today we're going to be talking about the top 10 things you need to know about Business Central apps. But before Ken gets into that, I want to remind everybody of my wonderful, perfect segment from last month, talking about
Wonderful and perfect?
Wonderful and perfect, yep. It's talking about the 5 steps you need to take before deciding any Business Central app. So step 1 was talk with your Microsoft partner. Come on, don't laugh. That's perfect. I mean, you've got to. Step 2, go to Microsoft App Source, explore all the different apps out there. Step 3, view documents, pictures, and whatnot about the app on App Source. Step 4 was to Google the app and see if there's any videos or a specific website dedicated just for that app. And step 5 was to research the app provider, otherwise known as the ISV, see how long they've been in business, see what others are saying about that organization or about that app. Do they offer other apps? What does their website look like? Is it updated? And those types of things. Now that we've covered the most perfect 5 steps to purchasing a Business Central app, let's get to the 10 phenomenal things to know about a Business Central app.
And so it is kind of difficult to do better than a perfect list of things to do before purchasing an app. But that's exactly what I'm going to try to do.
All in the eyes of the beholder.
So what this is, we're gonna do another top list here for apps. Again, this is just top 10 things to know about Business Central apps. So, that list very informative, and these are steps that you need to take to vet those, right? And make sure it's a good fit for your business and you understand how everything works and pricing and everything. But this, we're going to kind of take a step back because we get a lot of questions from people on extensions and apps and what's the difference? How does this work?
Right.
So this is just kind of more of like a 101 list that we can share. So we'll go through. So it is a top 10 list. So number 1, the terms app and extension are sometimes used interchangeably by people. And this can be confusing.
A lot confusing.
Right. Effectively, they are the same thing. Except, let's get into some details. So, number 2, what is an app? An app is a complete solution for Business Central that has been designed for a specific purpose and provides functionality above and beyond what Microsoft has delivered within Business Central. Each app is submitted by a developer to Microsoft, approved by Microsoft, and then becomes visible on Microsoft App Source. And people can then potentially download it or whatever. So it's a formal, registered, accepted solution.
So, if I may interject, right now, obviously, the app and extension is completely being used interchangeably. But I don't know if you remember, in the beginning, when Dynamics 365 Business Central and all those were launched, Microsoft was trying to make it a point in the beginning that Business Central sales and whatnot were the actual app, and then the extensions were the things created by the ISVs. But once they launched App Source, then you can't put extensions on App Source and not have confusion. You know what I mean?
Correct. Yeah, and then to kind of put this into perspective, Business Central itself is now one huge app.
Right. Exactly.
And then you can take these other apps and plug them in, so to speak, right?
I was never a fan of the term extension just because I think app had the more brand awareness or whatnot.
Yeah. So what is an extension then? So an extension is a more general term that describes the structure or method used for building these custom solutions within Business Central, right? So the old model was you develop solutions by modifying and creating objects. And in the new Business Central environment, now you create extensions.
So would you say, exactly. So would you say an add-on is virtually an extension nowadays?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and so where it gets confusing is because an app is an extension, right?
Yep.
But extensions can also be developed and deployed within an individual Business Central tenant or environment without going through AppSource and Microsoft for approval and all that.
Yeah.
So it's how we deliver customizations or custom solutions for our customers. When they go, you know what, I like that it always picks the lowest and the best price for my customer, and that's how the pricing logic works. But I want it to, if there's a custom price that exists, always use the custom price, right? So we would develop an extension that does that. Now, are we going to go through the effort and publish that on Microsoft and AppSource and make it available for anyone to use? No. So we're going to call that an extension within our customer's Business Central environment. Okay. So that's kind of just hopefully that helps clarify. But effectively, an app is an extension.
Yep.
It's just generally kind of referred to more as a formally vetted and approved extension.
And I think most people refer to it as apps nowadays, no matter what it is.
Right. Number 3, the amount of functionality that is included within an app can vary widely. So as an example, one app available on AppSource may be a single report or document. A very small, simple app.
Yeah.
While another app that's registered out on AppSource might provide all of the functionality required for a vertical solution, such as a metal manufacturer, for example. So, accordingly, there are significant differences in your company's dependence on that app. Right? Obviously, if it's just one report or one document, you could uninstall that app if you don't like it, and you're done.
Right.
No big deal. However, if you're a metal manufacturer and you've installed this metal manufacturer vertical solution app, you probably are going to be locked in to using that because it provides such extensive functionality. Right, so it's just something to consider in terms of how, what that impact of that app is on your environment.
Right, the complexity of it, yeah.
Number 4, we think of apps as belonging to kind of one of 3 categories. And this is something that we internally kind of came up with. I'm sure there are other ways, or you could add one or think of it differently. But this kind of works for us. So the first type of app is a native app. And what we mean by native app is that the app is completely built within the Business Central environment, meaning all of the data and functionality is contained in that Business Central database. Okay. The second type is an integration app. This is an app that exists simply to integrate Business Central with an external solution where the majority of the actual functionality or capabilities are accessed outside of Business Central. And examples of these types of apps might include payroll software integrations, e-commerce integrations, or expense reporting solutions. So these are companies that have their own
portal,
user interface and database and solution, and they have simply created an app explicitly just for passing data back and forth between there, right? And then the third type of solution, it would be a hybrid, which is a combination of a native app and an integration app. In these cases, a user may operate Business Central via new functionality provided by the app, but the app also utilizes an external application. Examples of these might be credit card solutions, sales tax, or shipping solutions, where there is functionality that's added inside Business Central for the users, but they are reliant on an external application for, calculating tax or charging a credit card or calculating shipping charges, right? So that's kind of a hybrid app. So that's how we kind of categorize them.
It makes complete sense, though, right? I mean,
Right. Yep. Number 5. Some apps provide free trials, and most of these will limit your use of the app to a period of time, such as 30 days. However, some apps do not provide free trials and instead require you to contact the app provider to obtain additional information. Generally, it's the larger, more complex apps that require you to contact the app developer for additional information.
probably just because of the setup and everything or whatnot, you think?
Right. Yeah, it could be they want to make sure that they don't maybe because of the scale and size of the app,
Yeah.
they don't want someone to deploy that solution into their Business Central environment only to find out that they completely misunderstood what it was for. And now you uninstall it, but it's
Made some changes and whatnot. Yeah.
right. So they want to make sure that it's a good fit for those requirements. Okay. Number 6, in terms of payments, most apps ultimately require you to pay the app developer to use the app, and most apps are priced using a subscription pricing model. However, there is no one way that all apps are priced. Some apps will price it per system per month, right? So or per environment per month. Some are per user per month. Some are a combination of these. Some have price tiers depending on how many users you have. So it's really up to the app developer to define how they want to do pricing. Number 7, some app developers require that you arrange your license and your payment directly through them, while other app developers will work through your existing Business Central partner to arrange for licensing and payment. Microsoft does not enforce a specific model, so they allow each app developer to define their own programs of how they distribute their software and how it gets implemented. What I can say though is that in every case I've seen, the price that the end user pays is the same, right? Regardless of if you go direct or you go through your partner.
Yeah. I'm almost hoping that eventually Microsoft sort of takes it over and the billing actually goes through Microsoft from the ISV and then down to the partner, the user, or whatnot. I think it would make it a little bit more simpler.
And even provide some structure around what options, maybe a few allowable licensing options per user, like how you charge for it. Right. Do you go per user? Is it just per environment? Right.
Yeah.
So create just a couple. You pick from one of these ways that you want to price it, right? And then Microsoft collects the money. Much simpler.
Right. Because in theory, if you're running 20 different paid apps, you're getting 20 different bills per month, right? And
you could.
Yeah, and it could get confusing then, and it requires a lot more time to pay them and everything.
Time to pay, time to analyze what's your total investment per month.
Yeah.
Right.
So it'd be a lot easier with one bill just from Microsoft.
Absolutely. Yep. So, okay, number 8. The source code of an app cannot be directly modified. So, however, extensions can be created that change the functionality of the app the same way that extensions can be created that change the functionality of the Business Central. However, in order to do that, in order to be able to modify what an app does, the app developer has to consider that. You might want to change it.
Yeah.
So they have to code it in a way that allows other developers to further extend their app.
Is this commonplace? Do a lot of these app developers build this into their app knowing that people want to extend the functionality of it?
The good ones do.
The good ones do?
Right?
Okay.
So a good, well thought out app says, that app developer says, look, we're going to change how pricing is done here. and we're going to add these options for handling pricing and discounting or whatever. But while they're developing it, they need to consider, they should be considering that someone else might want to use that app and maybe modify or insert additional logic at a certain point. So what they have to do is they actually have to write, build their code with events that allow other events to get inserted between them, right? And if they don't do that, then there's no way that another developer can further extend that functionality.
Right. So you would have to work or not work when it's if they don't do it.
And then, so you go, well, okay, well, I've implemented this app, and now we want to modify it, but we find that we can't. What's our recourse? What do we do? Well, what you should do is contact the developer of that app, of the original app that you want to kind of modify, and you tell them, you say, hey, we're running your app. We want to modify it. Yeah. At this point, we want to add this custom logic to it that does something different.
Right.
Or does something in addition to what you do. And they then can create a new version of their app that has that event subscription in there.
Nice. So
that people can now insert their code. So it's not the end of the world if there is no way to modify it, as long as the app developer is open to
allowing you to
improving their solution and allowing that, right? Yeah. Now you might have to wait a month.
Of course, yeah.
For that next version to come out, but that is possible. Number 9, if you no longer want to use an app, you can uninstall the app from the extension management page in Business Central. All functionality associated with the app will be removed from your Business Central environment. However, while there's no noticeable impact to the user, the app-related data continues to reside in that Business Central environment. It sits there in a disconnected state so that it's no longer being referenced or utilized by Business Central. But just something just to be aware of. Under the hood, right, there will be remnants of that app. That should have zero impact.
No way to completely delete it.
Right. No, it's there. And how I can tell you that as a fact is because if you have an app, you start using it, you insert some data into some of the tables or set some fields up, whatever, uninstall it. If you then reinstall that app, your data is still there. Right. So I think there are different ways that app developers can handle that, but by default, it sits there, but it's just all disconnected, so there's zero impact on you.
That's good.
And number 10.
Number 10.
Last but not least, when a new version of Business Central is released by Microsoft, it's common that an app developer will need to provide you with an updated version of their app so that it works with that newest version of Business Central. Right? Sometimes,
Otherwise, error messages happen and whatnot. Yeah.
Correct. What might happen is you schedule your Business Central environment to be upgraded to that newest release, and when that happens, you might get an error. So it might encounter the error, cancels the update of your environment, and then there are notifications that go out that'll provide details of why that failed. And it's common that it's related to one of these apps, you need to go get a new version. Maybe because Microsoft implemented some new variables or changed how certain pieces of the code work, so that the app developers have to go tweak their code, right, to fit with the new rules of Business Central. So that is common. It's par for the course, so to speak, and it also might be that that app developer needs additional time, right? So they may be 30 days behind that release schedule of Microsoft. So Microsoft is coming out with 2020 Wave 1 on April 1st. it's possible there are apps that you may be using that do not have a new compatible version available on April 1st. So just
Don't
something,
panic.
don't panic,
Yeah.
but something to consider. So, and that's why going back to your list of when you're going to pick an app, vet that app developer.
Right.
Who are they? What other apps do they have out there? Where are they located? What is their support plan?
Yeah.
Right? Because it is important that you understand who that app developer is, and are you going to be able to get compatible versions as you go forward in the long term?
Right. If they've only been around for 2 weeks, you know.
Yeah, you
Make your
can't
best
get anyone
judgment,
on
I
the
guess,
phone, you can't contact anyone, you
Right.
can't get any questions answered about anything, right? You
Then it's
might-
time to panic.
might not increase your level of confidence that, you know, in 2 years they're going to continue to have new versions available for you.
So true. Well, there you have it. The top 10 things you need to know about Business Central apps.